Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. In the rolling hills of rural America, there once lived a farmer named Jacob. Jacob had lived a hard life, working the land day in and day out. But he had always found solace in the simple beauty of the world around him. One day, however, tragedy struck. A severe drought descended upon the region, and Jacob's crops began to wither and die. As the days wore on, Jacob felt himself sinking deeper and deeper into despair. He felt lost, adrift in a sea of hopelessness, and he began to wonder if there was any point in going on. One evening, as the sun began to set over the barren fields, Jacob heard a faint sound on the wind. It was a melody, soft and sweet, and it seemed to be calling out to him. Intrigued, Jacob followed the sound to its source, and there he found a group of travelers gathered around a campfire. They welcomed him warmly, and as the night wore on, they began to sing a song. It was Amazing Grace, and as Jacob listened to the words, he felt something stir deep within him. The song spoke of a hope that transcended the trials of this world, of a grace that could lift even the most burdened soul. And he realized that it was not just the travelers who were singing, but God himself who was speaking to him through the music. And in that moment, Jacob knew that he was not alone. He knew that, no matter how bleak things might seem, there was always hope for a better tomorrow because he had God by his side. In the days and weeks that followed, Jacob found a renewed sense of purpose. He worked harder than ever before, determined to rebuild his farm and reclaim the life he had always known. And through it all, the song of Amazing Grace remained with him, a constant reminder of the power of God's grace and the resilience of the human spirit. Years later, as an old man looking back on his life, Jacob knew that he had been blessed to have heard that song on that fateful evening. It had brought him through his darkest hour and had given him the strength to keep going, even when all seemed lost. And he knew that it was not just the song, but God's grace that had sustained him all those years. And so, he sang the words of Amazing Grace one last time, his heart full of gratitude for the journey that had brought him to this place. For he knew that as long as he had God's grace in his heart, he would never be truly lost. Amazing Grace is a song that speaks to the soul, a melody that transcends time and place to touch the very essence of what it means to be human. It tells a story of redemption, of a life transformed by the power of grace and of the hope that comes with the realization that we are not alone in this world. The story of Amazing Grace is deeply personal, rooted in the life of its author, John Newton. Born into a family of ship captains, Newton was exposed to the harsh realities of life at sea from an early age. He experienced the trauma of being kidnapped and forced into slavery, and later became a captain himself, involved in the transatlantic slave trade. But over time, Newton began feeling a growing sense of unease about his life and actions. During a violent storm, John Newton cried out to God for mercy and peace amidst the chaos. Miraculously, the storm immediately subsided, leaving Newton filled with gratitude and an unshakable sense of peace. He turned to faith for solace and found himself drawn to the teachings of Christianity. As he began to embrace his faith, he experienced a profound transformation, renouncing the slave trade and becoming an advocate for the abolition of slavery. It was during this time that Newton wrote Amazing Grace, a hymn that spoke to the very heart of his own transformation. The song became a powerful anthem of the abolitionist movement, inspiring countless others to embrace the power of grace and work towards a better world. Today, Amazing Grace remains a touchstone for people of all faiths and backgrounds, a reminder that we are all capable of transformation and that grace can be found in even the darkest of places. It speaks to the power of forgiveness and redemption, and to the importance of never giving up on the journey toward a better life. In this way, the story of Amazing Grace carries with it a profoundly sentimental value, reminding us that even in our darkest moments, there is always hope for a better tomorrow. It is a song that speaks to the power of grace found in Jesus to transform lives and bring us closer to God.